pretty incredible to get to be here with you this morning. This time last year, I think I was Skyping with my mom. Well, technically it was 12 hours in the future. But we were Skyping with Mom, the midnight service and everything. And I realized how much I missed something that was a tradition to me for so many years. And I look out and I see people wearing shoes, which is weird. I see people, more than 8 of you, which is weird. And it helped me realize that we can take things for granted. So it's especially wonderful to get to be here with you this morning. I can't pretend to be able to sum up. I've been asked to maybe speak a little bit on our time in Cambodia, and I can't even pretend to be able to sum up our time there in 12 minutes and 7 seconds. But I do want to maybe share a little something with you that I gained from my time there that I hope will allow you to make an application that will help you to hopefully be benefited here this morning. After a trip to China and the Philippines, a couple of visits to Cambodia, and then 2 years of living there, something I've learned about the Southeast Asian and Asian world is that they enjoy and need their rice. I don't think if I were to ask you this morning, what is one thing that you have to have today before you can make it through your day, or what is one thing that you can't end your day without, I think our answers would be very varied. You might say, well, I have to have coffee to start my day. Or if you're one of those weirdos that likes their Diet Dr. Pepper at the beginning of the day, sorry. Maybe you say, I have to start my day with prayer. Maybe you say, I can't end my day without this or that. But the likelihood is that our answers will be pretty much all over the board. And if I were to ask you what food you have to have every day, they'd be all over the board. But in the Asian world, rice is a true staple like we can't really understand. We have corn, we have wheat, we have different things, but it's truly a staple and a central part of their diet. And so I wanted to pull something from this. I'm going to try, and I hope you can appreciate this morning. One thing that I learned in that part of the world, 3 things, and I want to make some spiritual application from them. But the people over there typically eat rice every day. And because of that, eating rice every day, they learn their rice, they get to know their rice really well. And thirdly, they develop a craving for it after eating it so much. With this idea of eating rice daily, we understand the need for food. But our spirits also need nourishment. And our spirits cannot thrive and cannot grow if we do not nourish them, if we do not feed them. We're going to grow, we're going to develop in some way, but if we're going to grow closer to God, we've got to be nourished by His Word. In Matthew 4:4, Jesus said, as a quote, and as a defense for Himself against Satan, He said, it is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. We understand this concept of living there is not just physical life, but spiritual life. Our spiritual life that continues after death is dependent upon whether or not we're nourishing ourselves spiritually. As we said, this daily consumption of rice causes the people to develop a familiarity with rice. You know, you and I can go to the store and we see white rice and we see brown rice. But if you go to a market in the back streets of Cambodia or any other country over there, I imagine, you're going to see scores of bags of white rice. And you and I might walk by and go, okay, this is the white rice section, but they're all priced differently because they're different. And the people there can see it, they can reach down, they can grab it, they can feel it, they can smell it, and they can tell the difference in this bag that costs, a certain amount per kilo, and then this bag that costs a certain amount per kilo. They might be able to get 3 times as much of this stuff for the same price, but they won't touch it because they know it doesn't have the nourishment that they need, and it doesn't have what will fortify them in their physical bodies. They know that the good stuff is what they need to be paying for. Are we daily and continually consuming God's Word so that we can recognize the good and recognize the bad? After eating good rice every day, if they get a scoop of bad rice, they don't want to touch it because they're used to the good stuff. When we continually consume God's Word for the good stuff, for the truth, we can recognize the bad stuff. We know to stay away from it and not to waste our time, not to give heed to idle fables, to the arguments and the discussions that are about unimportant things, because we know the good stuff. We recognize it. In Romans chapter 12, verse 2, we often go here to talk about understanding what it means to be transformed from the world, or not be conformed to the world, but be transformed to be more like Christ. And there it says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How are we renewed? How are our minds renewed? That renewal and that growth comes from God's Word. And it says that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Our spirits are renewed not by pure meditation, but having the right source and going to God's Word so that we can recognize what is good and what is acceptable, and we can exercise those things. In Philippians chapter 1, verses 9 through 11, it says, and this I pray, that your love may abound still more and more in knowledge and all discernment, that you may approve the things that are excellent. We cannot recognize what is good and excellent if we don't spend time with what is good and what is excellent. That you may be sincere and without offense till the day of Christ, being filled with the fruits of righteousness, which are by Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of God. They are through Christ, not through the intelligent, perhaps scholarly men in or out of our brotherhood, but they come from Christ. Lastly, not only do they consume rice every day as we should the Word, not only do they learn to recognize quality because of their consumption, as we should be able to recognize and understand and love truth, but they crave it. If you see, or if you spend time with folks over there, you'll find they can eat all sorts of stuff, but they don't feel full and content until they've had that serving of rice. They've got some delicious cuisine, but they don't even feel full and content until they've had that rice. Do you ever find yourself at the end of the day feeling totally fine, and then you realize and recognize that you've not spent a minute of time in God's Word? It's scary to think that we can get to the point where we could be fasting and not recognize that our spirit is dwindling. If someone becomes, that sickly kind of skinny, we tend to go, are you okay? Because you don't look well. Maybe we don't like to ask that, but if you're concerned for someone, you're probably going to ask, are you okay? What's wrong? Are you sick? Are you not eating? But we don't like to step on people's toes and say, are you okay? You're doing things that don't look like a spiritually healthy person would do. That health and that sustenance comes from God's Word, and we need to develop that craving, develop that love for God's Word. You don't have to travel abroad to see this, but it has been in my travels that I feel like I have seen need. I've seen desperation that people standing on a street corner around here a lot of times don't exhibit. They don't have the right color, like the filth, the smells, the true effort to get what they want. They want it to be given to them a lot of times. But if you've ever been around someone that you don't know when their last meal was, and you're holding in front of them what might be their last food for days, who knows how long, you can look in that person's face and you can recognize and see through their actions what true desperation and need look like. How desperate are we for God's Word? It is so easy to come by for us. We've got apps. We never need to carry a Bible anymore because we've got apps that have the Bible, have the concordance, have everything right there with us, and it's so easy to have. It's so accessible. But do we allow it to become common in our hearts? Do we allow it to become something that we don't feel like we need because we always know it's there? But if the last Bible in the world were sitting up on this stage, I hope, even though we probably share with each other, I have a feeling that there would be quite a commotion trying to get up here to grab that final, bit of spiritual food, because we recognize that when something is not so available, there's demand for it. And we should have that same demand, that same desire for God's Word. In Cambodia, the tongue or the dialect is called Khmer. And in the Khmer language, there's a phrase that is very much akin to what we would say, how's it going? Sup? And it's Nyambai, which literally means eat rice. And if I were to come to you, I might not say hi, I might not check on how you're doing, but I might say Nyambai or Nyambai Howie, you eating rice already? And though its literal translation means that, that's the way that people interact with one another or speak to one another to truly check up on how each other's doing. If you say, Bye, Nyambai Howie, yes, I've already had my rice, I've eaten, then you can continue on to something else. Or I say, Nyambai Howie, no, I've not yet eaten. We can do that. We can have that time together. Can we relate to one another in a way where we can say, have you eaten today? Have you spiritually eaten today? Without feeling like I'm coming up to you and saying, have you or have you not? I'm stepping on your toes a little bit to check up on you. We don't like to be checked up on, but that's also what we're here for. We're here to hold each other accountable and to encourage each other and help one another. And so if I come up to you, or if someone comes up to you, and they're bold enough and brave enough and loving enough to say, have you had your word today? That's an encouragement, and it's a sign that we love one another. And so my encouragement to you today, or I guess my question to you is, have you had your rice today? Have you already eaten? I don't mean, someone up here throwing rice and food at you this morning. I'm talking about you. Have you consumed it? Have you partaken of it in a way that will allow you to be renewed and refreshed and share that with others?